Hi, I'm Lucas Jarrett, and this is Maps Weekly. Today with us we have Russell Rowland, and he is currently doing a writer's workshop with Maps, and we've got him for an interview. So Russell, why did you become a writer?
I became a writer because I love the arts, and I became pretty enamored with books. I fell in love with books when I was in my 20s, and eventually just got the bug. I mean, I started writing these little short stories, and decided that's what I would like to try to do. So I ended up going to graduate school for it, and that's where I wrote my first novel.
Oh. So other than having an interest in books when you were older, was there any other reasons why you became a writer?
Well, I guess most writers I know feel like they have something to say, so I guess there were some issues that I felt like I wanted to address through my writing, so that was part of it too.
What did you do before you were a writer, or was there anything else you wanted to be when you were younger?
Yeah, actually I started out wanting to be a musician. I was a music major in my undergrad, and I played in clubs. I was a piano man. I played a lot of Billy Joel and Elton John. This was back in the 80s. So, and then after I realized that I didn't want to do that, I just worked a lot of odd jobs to try to support myself while I was trying to get published. I was worked at an advertising agency for about 8 years, and I guess my favorite job was writing fortune cookies. So I did that for a while.
It's a pretty interesting job.
Yeah, it was.
What else have you done with Maps in the past?
Well, I met Susan and Peter when I was doing research for my book called 56 Counties. For that book, I toured every county in Montana and interviewed people all over the state about what's happening, some of the interesting things that are happening around Montana. And I worked that into a sort of a history plus a current, sort of taking the temperature of what's going on. And somebody told me about Maps, and so they were on my list to interview, and I met them here in Hamilton, and we became fast friends. I actually ended up staying with Peter and Susan when I was doing my book tour 2 years ago, and just had a really great relationship with them. So I'm very sad Peter's gone, and I really value their friendship.
That was a tough point.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any advice for young writers, or what you might have said to your younger self?
I think probably the most important thing is that you have to really just be committed to what you want to do. I have tried writing books because I thought they would be more commercially acceptable, and it didn't go well. I mean, you really need to write what you feel like is important to you. Try to find your voice, and I mean, you just have to prepare yourself for the fact that it's not an easy business. You face a lot of rejection, so you have to just really be persistent.
So you have 5 books published now?
Right.
Where could you find those, and what are they called?
They're all available on Amazon, or I guess most bookstores in Montana would have them. The first novel was called In Open Spaces. That was based loosely on my family history. They were homesteaders in eastern Montana. Then the second book was a sequel to that called The Watershed Years. The third novel was called High and Inside, and that was about an alcoholic former baseball player who moves to Bozeman. And the fourth book was an anthology that I edited with a friend of mine, where we had writers from all over the West talk about what it means to grow up in the West and how it affects all of us. And then the last one was 56 Counties, the one I talked about earlier.
Oh, yeah. Do you have any other books in the works?
Yes, I'm working on the prequel to my first book, so that'll make that a trilogy. And then I also have another novel that's about a murder that takes place in a small ranching community.
So currently, what have you been doing with the MAP students in your workshop?
They asked me to come and do this 2-day workshop to the film class, and I don't really have a lot of experience with film, so I decided to focus on just how to structure a story. And so the first day we just talked about some of the basic elements of how to tell a story well, some of the elements of what makes a good book or a good movie. And then today we're going to actually try to apply some of that to the movie idea that you guys came up with. So I'm looking forward to that.
Cool. Thanks for joining us with Russell Rowland, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.